I hope you guys know who I am. If not, I'm Walt Hudson, or as we all know now, Salty Walt. I just put together a book of antennas. What I like to do, I'll give a little rundown on me first, and then we'll go through the book here. I live right by the sea. This is me in my front yard right now, a bit across the street. That's the harbor of Norfolk, Virginia. I've got a little true USDX there. I like to get out and operate portable because of salt water. Now, the antenna book here isn't all about antennas next to salt water, but it is heavy on verticals because, as they say, horizontal by land, vertical by sea. It's really what it's all about, and we'll get into that more in a minute there. But to talk about me, I have a little YouTube channel now, Coastal Waves and Wires, that seems to be doing okay. I hope you guys are probably already subscribers, but I like to sketch antennas. It's really what I'm into. I started 1980, so 45 years ago, while I was going to school at night to become an engineer. I was a draftsman, and back then this was before computer-aided design, and we drew by hand. And I would draw shipbuilding. I would draw structural components and plates and things for them to build ships. And I actually worked as a loftsman. We were on the floor. We would lay out by hand patterns and stuff, for lofting to build ships. So it started as a loftsman and a draftsman. Well, as we've ventured on into the modern age, I still do it, but I do it 3D CAD and using, you wouldn't know that by me with the computer here a minute ago, but I do actually. I'm a CAD operator per se. But I like doing that. And my job, coming from what I did in engineering, starting as just a rookie loftsman, draftsman, I actually worked out as an apprentice and pounded steel, did a little bit of welding or whatever. I got to see that side of shipbuilding and then complete university studies, become an engineer, and then I got to see the theoretical guys. In my entire career for 45 years, I've been that guy in the middle, kind of like the field guy that goes to the theory guy, comes down to the guys building and do it. And I like to do that in antenna building as well, and kind of take what I've done for 45 years of my engineering career and add it to the fun part of my life, which is ham radio. I'll start it off, my 8th birthday, which would have been June 26, 1970, I got one of these radios. Now, I had a rough life as a kid. My second floor bedroom window looked out at the road we lived on, which was called Bayview Boulevard. And across Bayview Boulevard was a beach and the water that was the Chesapeake Bay. It was a hard life, but I discovered real quick then, in 1970, as an 8-year-old, I would sit in my bedroom at night, and we all have done it, I'm sure, listen to AM radio. And even with this little size of a ball, I would tune around, and it was just amazing what I could receive. And I can remember back then, I could even pick up, being right on the water and on the bay, Bermuda, just amazing DX with a cheap little radio in my bedroom window. Well, my grandparents were farmers inland, way inland in central North Carolina, and I used to go spend my summers on the farm with them. And I took my little ball there with them, and I was like, the best DX I can get is WSM in Nashville, which is like 300 miles away. It was a different world. It really was. And I get back home, and I'm next to salt water. So I learned at a very, very young age that there was some magic down here with this salt water. And there was something to it with radio. At the time, I was a kid, I didn't know really what it was. Well, fortunately, throughout my life, I've always been next to saltwater because I work in shipbuilding. This is just got through building this. I was working, for those that knew I was in Rhode Island, this is a car ferry for the state of Maine that we just built. And I was working for a company called Senesco Marine up there. I was on a contract doing that. And even while I was at Senesco Marine, I was taking stuff like this, the hard part, and going down to the guys on the field and building them with doing little sketches and things like that. If you watch my videos or if you've followed me, a lot of people have said, I've always sketched up an antenna like this and put it up on other forms of social media, as well as some of my videos. And people said, Walt, you should do a book. I'm like, okay, I don't know why you guys would want these, but I'll do it. And then I was so fortunate that the ARRL reached out to me and said, hey, Walt, we would like to publish your book. And I said, let me think about that. Sure, okay, let's go. I'd love that. So if you were an old salty from when I started the channel or whatever, you probably remember these. And I was up doing, just sketching and doing that. From the sketch, I'd build the antenna, and this right here is, that's the Chesapeake Bay, not far from where I live. And I'd go out and operate it, get out and do a video and have some fun. I love QRP. For me, QRP, I know we were talking about it earlier, I heard in the last presentation, but to me, QRP lets me know if that antenna really is doing its job. So I like to do that. I think right here in this was a Wednesday afternoon on the beach there on the Chesapeake Bay. And I remember with that little cheap 5-watt radio, I worked like 3 different South American stations. This was summer before last when we were coming up the cycle. So I like to do that. And then after I get through with that, I like to go somewhere and eat. I love seafood. You guys know that. I was another really hard thing that happened to me in life, just a terrible thing that happened to me was I got stationed in Kauai, Hawaii, and I was playing radio there. It's actually where the channel started. I was there when it started. This is the shrimp station. This is like I said, I'll put these types of things in it, and then I like to kind of showcase the area where I'm at. And talking about Kauai, when I was there, I was on Barking Sands base, which is where WWVH is at. And so I went right there. I put my little tech sun on, it stood right next to it. I was like, right, I was, they say milk off the cow, that I was next to the cow there, that antenna, for sure. A lot of this is in the book. That's why I'm showing it to you. It's just kind of me. The book is the antennas, a lot like a video if you watch my my YouTube channel. I just like to have fun. And I want to talk about that because this book is fun. We say in the book that if you're into the Mozart, perfect, high-end technical antenna, don't buy this book. This is a kitten for you. This book is just have fun. Let's get a wire in the air and have fun. One of the things I see, especially questions I get on my channel, is I think newer hams coming into the hobby, they get too caught up. There's nothing wrong with learning and understanding the theory, but they get too caught up in it, and they're so worried about loss and what's going on with feed line and everything else that it kind of, like we call it, analysis paralysis. It just stops them. I will tell you this right now, pretty much 90% of the antennas in my antenna book are major compromises, and they require a tuner to get them to work. You know what I mean? But the thing about these antennas are they work, and they work pretty well. If you've seen on my channel, doing it. We'll start out with some of the simple things. Antenna building is easy. To me, it is. It only requires a few simple tools: a tape measure, some wire, and a wire cutter, and maybe a roll of tape and a ballon or on or something, and that's it. That's all you really need to get going. I like to do it on the cheap, and I say on the cheap. I go to Walmart and for $16.96. I buy this. It's 100 foot of 16 gauge speaker wire, copper speaker wire, which gives me 200 feet of wire. It's pretty cool. And with that, when I cut that wire, I have 2. For radials, it's great. I just measure, like, say, 5 meters if I'm making counterpoise wires and clip, and then just spread them apart and do that. So that's one of my things I like to do. Affordable, cheap, and easy, because everyone goes, don't you worry about those wires being in the salt water? Don't you worry about, what do you do, the corrosion or whatever? And I'll be honest with you, I probably throw away more wire than anybody. An antenna, I build it. I try to save it in a bag if I'm going to use it again. And then it gets in the bottom of a box that a year and a half later, I go, oh, there it is. You know what I mean? So that's how I am with wire. I'm probably not a good steward to the, with wire. But for vertical antennas and maybe even for slopers, poles are important. You can go way high end and way low end. I know I was traveling when I first went to Poland. I was buying the little $20 squid poles or crappie poles or whatever, and put them in my bag. And those things, are skinny, the first windstorm would break off or whatever. If you don't have a pole, Callum didn't tell me to do this. I'm not advertising for DX Commander, but the expedition pole is what I have 2 of them now. The 10-meter expedition. Just about any antenna in my book can be built with this pole, and I love the thing. And if you, what I do love about it is I got a piece of 3/4 inch PVC pipe that's about 1 meter long. I just extend the pole, screw off the bottom, put the PVC down in the dirt or sand or whatever, and just slide it right on. And it's an amazing way to support an antenna. There are other ways as well. For you guys that fish or live by the anywhere where there's a tackle shop, bait and tackle shop, you can get these for about $7.99. They're a surf rod holder or a fishing rod holder. Beach umbrellas, man. Beach umbrella holders are another thing that I like with the smaller poles. I will be honest with you, the DX Commander, I haven't found a beach umbrella holder yet that'll hold my DX Commander pole. It's just a little too stout for it, and there's the openings there. Another thing, and this is not an advertisement for LDG, although I did see LDG has an ad in the book, which makes me happy because I have the collection, all but one. LDG made a 49-to-1 that looked like this. That's coveted. I can't find one. I can't even find one used, but I have all the others. I have the 1-to-1 ballon, the 1-to-1 choke, the 4-to-1 ballon, 4-to-1 unun, 9-to-1 unun, and I think that's it. So if you're going to start building antennas, feed point is important. You don't have to rush out and buy a LDG. That's what I use. I like them. To me, they're easy. I can just tape them on the bottom of the pole, hook the wires up, and go. A lot of people like building their own. That's cool. I know my friend Smoking Ape. He's kind of like he's the guy for that. He'll tell you how many turns and what you need and all that stuff. He's got a great channel, and I enjoy watching that. But I'm lazy. I just buy mine, and it's how I do it. Another thing is we get off and we start with vertical antennas is counterpoise wires. There's a lot of talk on this, and a lot of people say, you need this, you need that, they need to be tuned or whatever. I personally have found that for me, being close to salt water, I could probably use any piece of wire I want as long as it's touching the ground that's kind of saturated over to the water. It works great for me. But I did do a little sketch. I was watching, talking about Callum McCormick and Rudy Severns. He did a couple videos where he was quoting him. I went and did some research on Rudy's writing as well. And I put this together. This is in the book. Just kind of a little theoretical gain on the amount of counterpoise wires and what they do for a vertical antenna. All that's in the book. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of talking about counterpoise wires because we can debate that all day. I know a lot of people, it's funny on my channel, they always go, well, why don't you try raised radials? I'm thinking, I'm sitting on top of the world's greatest ground plane, salt water. I don't think, that's great. Maybe I'll do it just to do it. But no, the reason I lay mine down is because my location. Same with quarter wave vertical is an antenna. If you look back at some of my earlier videos, this used to be, this was the holy grail for me for operating because it's easy. It's a resonant antenna. And I put together in the book, there are equations, the equations in the book as well, but some people just want to build. In my book, I kind of went for middle of the voice parts of the band and did a little quick reference there for quarter wave verticals. And if you haven't built an antenna before, a vertical antenna, start here. It's easy. It's like I just showed you all the cheap parts. It's a great way to begin building vertical antennas. Then get out and do it. Where was that here? Oh, this is Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Another thing that happens to me, if you can see how rough the surf is here, is a lesson learned. You don't have to have your counterpoise wire in the salt water. I've learned that the hard way because I've had the salt water overtake me, and I've when walking with salt water up to my ankles, saving my stuff there. There are ways where you get back away from it. Question I get a lot is, Walt, what is your favorite antenna? The DX Monster, the number one antenna for you when you're operating with a vertical antenna portable. Vertical in-fed half wave for me is just, I think that if you're into DX, if you just want to go out and do DXing, maybe not your typical POTA activation, but for DXing, I love this antenna. There's some science to it as well. As far as ground plane and counterpoise wires or whatever, I've found that just a short 5% of a wavelength of an antenna, which is just a little over a meter, right around a meter long, with a wire cut for a half wave of 20 meters. This to me is I hate to call it my favorite antenna, but this is the antenna. If I woke up one morning and said I wanted to make the best contact I could possibly make, it would be with this antenna. This spot right here in the picture, this is Nags Head, North Carolina. On this particular morning, I went out QRP 10 watts with that antenna, and I think I worked 8 or 9 VK, and I was getting anywhere from 5 to 5.8 signal reports from VK with that antenna. That to me is the antenna, and I talk about that in the book as well. On a variant of that, or basically the same antenna, is a half-wave vertical for the 10-meter band. And where we're at right now in the solar cycle, 10 meters is epic. And I think it's going to stay that way when it is open. I know there's other things happening too. Middle of the summer, you got delayer absorption and things going on. But when 10's open, I love the half-wave vertical there as well. This here is me. I was sitting in my Jeep in Little Compton Beach, Rhode Island. So this is the very southeast corner of Rhode Island. I could get out of my Jeep and walk about a quarter of a mile, and I would have been in Massachusetts. So it's the very corner of Rhode Island. It was where I was at with this 10-meter vertical. And just an amazing performer with that. I found with the lower bands, 49 to 1, everybody knows the classic 49 to 1 in-fed half wave for 65, 66 feet long for 40-meter band, and gives you 40, 20, 15, and 10. I found that 49 to 1 works with, we all know that, the vertical for 20 meters. But once you start getting into the higher bands, the feed point, it changes somewhat. And I've used 64 to 1. It seems to be the best results for that. And I have from 10, 12, 15, I built a 15-meter one too. As a matter of fact, here it is here. I found that the 64 to 1 unknown. Also with that, I haven't seen much of an advantage of using the small counterpoise wire with that as well. I know that's the coax that's acting as the counter on that, but as we're getting now to where the half wave is in the antenna, and that little bit of coax that little bit of counterpoise that I use for, say, the 40 and the 20-meter type half wave isn't giving me much of an advantage. One thing I do is it works really well if you want to go out and work the higher bands is I cut one for the 12-meter band and then do a fold over. This is in the book as well. And if you want to go out and experiment, I mean, I know 99% of you guys here could do the math yourself or whatever, but this is in the book, and you can see the dimensions I use to just fold it over and make it happen. This antenna right here gets me a lot of crazy questions, or not really, I should say comments, but I like building a vertical dipole for the 10-meter band as well, because you can get it up higher off the ground. It's a dipole now. You're not relying on the on the counter for below it. Basically, it is a full half wave antenna for 10. But I like building the 10-meter one. I got a feeling 6 years from now this will be the worst antenna ever. But right now, it's a good time to go out and build it and play around with a vertical dipole for the 10-meter band. As I started, when you saw me sitting on the seawall there, this is right across the street from where I live at. That is the Hampton Road, the Norfolk Harbor in this picture. That is the U.S. Navy Hospital, Norfolk, right behind me there. This is where I live. I operate here a lot. It's one of my favorite spots. It really is. I like messing around with different and experimenting with different type of antennas as well. One that I've had a lot of fun with, and now we're getting into really relying on a tuner and a non-resident antenna, is what we call a 17.5. I call this the little brother of the Ribicoff, if you're familiar with the Ribicoff. We'll get to that one next. A 17.5-foot vertical wire with a 4-to-1. I've found that through most of the bands from, say, 20 to 10, right around 4-to-1 gives you almost a match, and you can use an ATU with this one. As far as counterpoise wires, just like I was saying earlier, the science to this is easy. Get something on the ground and make it happen. I usually put 4 or 5, just 5 meter long. I don't really even measure them precisely. Counterpoise wires and put them on the ground and have some fun. This is the 17.5 here. I built it at, this is Oakland Beach, which is in Warwick, Rhode Island. That's looking out at Greenwich Bay, which goes out into Narragansett Bay. But this is a great antenna. I've had some fun with it. And I call it the little brother of the Ribicoff antenna. This is an antenna that, it's funny, Mike Kinderconnect, I saw him, he's here, into MAK. He and I were having some adult beverages last night and discussing a 3/8 wave antenna for 20 meters. And Mike brought it up to me. He goes, Walt, that's kind of the Ribicoff, and it is close to being a 3/8 for that. The beauty of this is it's also very close. You start going towards the 10-meter band of being a 5/8 wave. So this antenna, although there's loss, it's a compromise, and you're using a tuner to tune it. Your takeoff angle for DX is just amazing, and it's a fun antenna. It was. I don't have his call, but it was actually the brainchild of an Italian amateur, and who ended up moving to Africa, and he was in Africa. He was married to a Russian woman who named it the Ribicoff antenna, meaning a fishing pole or fishing antenna for that. So I have a lot of fun with that. I even took this, in this picture here, I'm out on the Kitty Hawk fishing pier in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. I took it out there at the end of the pier, and I remember I was talking to my friend VK4KA over in Brisbane with this QRP, with this antenna on that pier sitting out over the water. And like I said, I know I'm a saltwater guy. I mean, that's just what I do because I'm fortunate enough to live by it. Mike and others have built these antennas well inland. Mike lives in the Buffalo, New York area, and he's had some fun with that. If you want to see pretty much most of the stuff I do, Mike and I are friends. He's built a lot of these as well. Go check out his channel as well, Into MAK. And he shows that even in Buffalo, New York, he's not talking to Brisbane, Australia with 5 watts, but he's still getting out and having some great time with this antenna as well. Mike and I were also talking last night, and this is another thing, and we were talking about random wire antennas. And the one thing about random wires is they're not random. They're parts and there's lengths that you really need to hit. For verticals, I've found that, the 17.5, which kind of is in this class, the Ribicoff, which is 25 foot, is in this class. And then 3 more that I've built, and I really think they're just monstrous antennas for DX, are 29 feet, 35 and a half feet, and 41 feet. And that's about the only thing you can get on a pole. If you can find a pole that can hold a vertical without guide wires, that'll hold something more than 41 feet, please let me know. I'd like to have that pole because I can't find it, and I would definitely do it. But this is I believe what we're looking at here is the 29 foot. This is on the beach in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, out on the Outer Banks. You guys see a lot of the Outer Banks in me. It's because I live in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area, and it takes me about an hour and a half to get to the Outer Banks, which is my favorite part of the world. So I was thinking around. I was like, you know what? I want to design an antenna. This was my idea here. It's a brainchild of mine. I wanted to have an antenna that did not require a ground plane. Everyone talks about the no radial antenna, whatever, and then everyone goes, it's a dummy load or whatever. So I was like, I want to overcome that. So I was thinking, we were talking about those lengths earlier, 17.5, Another length that would work would be 20 and a half feet. I've actually built a vertical at 20 and a half as well. I was thinking, how can I put those lengths, those random wire lengths together and build a vertical that didn't require counterpoise wires, because I like to operate on the beach, but as you all know, when you go to the beach in the summertime, you're not going down by the salt water in the summertime. It's going to be nothing but people walking back and forth and in the way. So I thought about it. I said, you know what? I got an idea. I'm going to do something that's going to be kind of like an off-center fed vertical, and I'll have that upper element, the 17.5, the one I know works well, and I'll use a ballon, kind of like you would in an off-center fed horizontal dipole. And below it, I'll stretch it out. I'll put enough to make it 20 and a half feet. So overall, this thing is fitting in that range of where it's not resonant on any of the bands I want to go on or any of those multiples. The feed point is down low enough to where, say, 200 ohms or so, I can put 4-to-1, bring it into 50, and make it work. And I came up with a Coastal 20 antenna, and this thing is really, it's probably not the greatest antenna I ever built, but for the purpose of what I want to do with it, it has worked for me, and it has worked for me well, because when everyone's crowded on the beach and I want to operate, I go all the way up at the back of the beach and build this antenna and have some fun with it. It's a fun antenna. And if you look at the picture here, this is Norfolk, Virginia. This is the area called Ocean View, or locals, we call it the OV. This was early morning as the sun was rising. I built this antenna knowing that it was going to be a day where I couldn't stay long if I went down on the water, so I built this. This is also the cover of the book, if you got the book. That's the little trivia there is Ocean View, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. That's the beach, and that was that antenna. While we're talking about fun antennas, slinkies, man, they're the coolest thing ever. I know a lot of people have built slinky dipoles. I've actually built a vertical slinky dipole that's not in the book. I used a 9-to-1 ballon for that, and I used the DX commander pole and kind of had to crunch it down to do it. But one I've had some really great success with is a slinky vertical. Now, it's not a regular slinky. If you go to Walmart and you see them at Walmart or wherever you buy your slinkies, this is a giant slinky, so it's bigger. I think it's about twice the size of the smaller slinky. And just like I said, just a fun antenna to have some fun with. It works. I've worked some DX with this antenna and had some fun with it. That is actually a Nelson 9-to-1 next to it. What I did with this antenna, if you look at it, at the very bottom, that cheap speaker wire, I soldered a piece of it on the bottom of the slinky, and then I just hook it to the Nelson 9-to-1. And I'm having some fun with it. It's like I said, that's really what building antennas is all about, and what I hope, especially for newer hams, go out and make mistakes. Go out and make goofy antennas like this. I think you learn more from the bad antennas than you do the perfect antennas. You build the perfect antenna, you're done. You know, there's nowhere else to go. And so I like doing stuff like this as well. Getting back to the off-center fed half-wave dipole. So after the Coastal 20 experiment, I was like, you know what? I need to do this right now. Let's build something that would be resonant and wouldn't need a tuner, and that I could have fun with. Once again, this is a great antenna right now. 6 years from now, this will be the second worst antenna you could ever build, because it's 10 meters, and we know what happens every 11 years as we go through the cycle. Probably not the best, but like I said, once again, people will go, why would you build a off-center fed half-wave dipole for 10 meters? You could just build the 10-meter vertical dipole or the half-wave, whatever. Look, I like just building antennas, and that's what I'm trying to say here. Look, this is to me the part of the hobby that you know, we all go out and buy the new Yaesu or the new, you know, Zygu or the new ICOM or whatever. You know, I built a radio. One of my first things as a young hobbyist, I built a Globe Patrol shortwave radio from Radio Shack. You know, a kit, and there is still some kit building in our hobby, but and there's nothing wrong with just buying a radio and using it. But this is the part of the hobby, I think, where we can still build and building antennas. And if you're a POTA operator and you go to different parks or whatever, I know a lot of people, and I got friends that do it, they have that one antenna as their their POTA antenna, and they go everywhere. I think you get more enjoyment by trying and experimenting with different antennas. That's like I said, that's what our hobby's all about. That's what this book's all about, and just going out and having fun with it. And that's why, like I said, the vertical off-center fed half-wave dipole is a great antenna for 10 meters and nothing else. But if you want to experiment on 10 meters and have some fun with it, I mean, you could build this once again for other bands and change the length of the wires, but I think you would have a hard time finding a pole to hold it. This right here is, it was wintertime. I built this. I've got if you can see it very well, a flagpole stand underneath my front tire of my Jeep, and with the 10-meter DX Commander pole, and I just sitting down by the water in the Jeep and operating. Had some fun with that. I think with this antenna, there's a guy in the next room, Michael Martins, is giving a POTA talk. I made contact with him. He was operating POTA, and I was sitting here with this antenna and having fun. But that was, once again, Oakland Beach and Warwick, Rhode Island. Another great antenna for verticals is definitely the 5/8 wave. There's so much written about the 5/8 wave as far as takeoff angle. It may be the perfect vertical for some folks. I have built this, once again, just for the 10-meter band because it's pretty much vertical portable is about all you're going to do as far as pole size to do it. But a great antenna as well. If you're into the study of vertical antennas, go do a little deep dive, go down the rabbit hole of the 5/8 wave. It is a great antenna. And once again, this is another beach in Rhode Island that I went out on this past summer and had some fun with that as well. So some people don't want to build an antenna, so they just want to experiment with antennas. I get that all the time. I don't want to cut wires. I just want to get out and build an antenna. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong to me. I do this as well. It's just slapping go somewhere, put a mag mount on top of the car or whatever and put a store-bought antenna on it and have fun. That's really the purpose of my channel, the purpose of the book, is to get more people doing that. I think that there's nothing wrong with just going out and making it happen. And if you don't want to cut wires, I mean, hey, ham sticks. You can go buy a ham stick if you can see that. But a ground rod with what we used to call the old CB trucker mirror mount and counterpoise wires on it, and screw it right in with a 3/8 threaded socket at the top. You can switch off different ham sticks or whatever. I love ham sticks as well. Another thing I really like are coils. This is the Slidewinder DX coil that I have for 40 and under, 40 meters and under. This is, I think it was Virginia Beach, Virginia on this particular day. And yeah, my family's from the UK, but I'm an American boy, so I also have a Wolf River coil made in America there as well. It's another great coil to get out and use. This is, these are in the book as well. I'll talk about it. This is our city park in the city of Portsmouth, Virginia. This is an antenna I get asked about a lot. Loops. This is a great antenna if you get it tuned for one frequency and you're going to call CQ and stay on it, a mag loop. I have almost beat my head against the wall trying to use a mag loop. Everybody thinks this is the antenna you could take with you traveling and operate in a hotel room with. I tried that a couple times. I put the antenna up and just drank a beer. It was tough. It's a great antenna, like I said, if you have patience. Learning how to tune it as well. This is right across the street from where I live in Virginia in Portsmouth. That's Norfolk across the river from me there. I will say that there's an art to using a mag loop. What I would do is turn my volume all the way up and just listen to the noise level as it goes shh. Get it as high as you can. Get over there, look at where it's at, and before you go back to hit it again, hit the tuner button and just go. That's how I do it with that antenna because it's a bear to tune. But I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. If this is your favorite antenna, God bless you. You're a heck of an operator because I struggle with this antenna. Moving on, I've also built quite a few horizontal and sloping antennas as well. For 2 years, I was traveling back and forth I was working in Poland. I was working at a NATO base in Poland. And our company rented me a house with a big backyard. And the owner of the house was like, I asked him, I said, can I play ham radio here? Can I use the backyard? He goes, yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care. I was like, oh, great. And then going through the CEPT agreement with Poland from the FCC, I was able to operate. And the cool thing was you have a limited amount of time you could operate. Well, I was there for 2 months and home for 6 weeks, there for 2 months. So I would reset every time I'd come back and forth to the States. So for a little over 2 years, I operated as Sierra Papa stroke Kilo 4 Oscar Golf Oscar. And now try to break a pilot with Sierra Papa stroke Kilo 4 Oscar Golf Oscar. I think when people would come back to me, especially Jürgen, I know English isn't your first language, Jürgen, but you know how hard it is when you're in Europe, people speaking English, because, that is the language used, and then trying to hear me, who went to grade school in the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Sugar Papa, stroke Kilo 4, Oscar Golf Oscar. They're like, come again. And I think one guy got it right the whole time I was there, so shame on me for that. But you know what they say, if you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. If you speak 3 languages, you're trilingual. If you speak 1 language, you're an American. So we were there, and that's what I did. So, but getting back to, I'm kind of getting off base here. I built quite a few different sloping and horizontal antennas there. And my secret sauce there, I had to bring a little bit of the coast with me, is fishing line, a monofilament fishing line. So when I build my dipoles, what I would do, and this is a dipole I got from my friend Tim N9 SAB and took with me over there, just a regular dipole. I would slide the dipole on the fishing line because I could pull the fishing line as tight as I wanted it to, get 40-pound test line, fishing line, and run it across, and just slide the dipole on it and tape it off or whatever, and had some fun with that. This is my backyard in Poland. I think it was about 10:30 at night. I was up on near the Baltic. It was about 10:30 at night here, and you could see that we still had a little bit of daylight. I remember, I think from the middle of June, there was a couple nights. I think June 21st, we had about 45 minutes of total darkness where we came out of what's called nautical twilight into dark, and then right back to nautical twilight. This was the nighttime here in the middle of June when I was doing it. So that was fun too. I had a lot of fun over there. If you ever get a chance to travel out of the country and you have a way to do it with, be it the CEPT agreement or you can set up ahead of time. I know like the Bahamas, you have to get a license ahead of time, whatever. I think it makes you a better operator being in a different place. For me, Europe, it just was, like I said, it made me a better operator. What a cool experience for me. I got to do it off and on for 2 years. And it also, having that backyard, it forced me out of my comfort zone of having the salt water and all that and building other type of antennas and learning. And I know one time I went over there with just that little FX4CR little radio. I just gotten it like 3 days before I was taking off on a trip. I said, should I do it? I'm going to take it. It's going to be the only radio I'm taking. If this radio isn't what it's said to be, I'm going to have 2 months of misery. And I forced myself to really learn the ins and outs of that radio, and actually it ended up being a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. So up in my bedroom window there in Poland, I also found that I could have the balun or the unknown inside the window. Fortunately, it was wooden framed, composite, and run the wire right through the crack of the window and out. And there I built a lot of, we were talking about random wires, taken off where I could only go up to 41 feet for vertical. I built some random wire slopers at 41, 58, was it 71, 84, and I did build a 107-footer, but I had to get a pole on the other end, and I kind of made it like an inverted L, and had a lot of fun with these antennas. And once again, the counterpoise, I would put a little bit of some sort of counterpoise on it. Mostly with the infed halfway, it was like 6.5 feet or 1.98 meter, 2 meter one. With the random wires, I'd put a little bit shorter. I would just stick like a 17-foot wire hanging off, and I'd hang it out the window as well. And I really, like I said, it made me a better operator, being a vertical guy, always by the sea or whatever. I learned a lot from these, and there's quite a bit of this as well. Another thing putting this book together did for me was, I said I 3D model structural components. I'm a structural engineer. It made me become an antenna modeler. So I started modeling antennas, and you'll see in the book just simple takeoff angles and stuff like that. It's in this book as well. If you purchase it, you've probably seen it as well. Getting back to experimenting and having fun, I took 2 poles and I took a delta loop and I turned it on its side. I know this has probably been done before, but I wanted to experiment with it. So I built a rotated delta loop for the 10-meter band. My thought on this, if you look at the part on the pole where the run of it's on the pole, the upper point I made a quarter wavelength for 10, and then the other half down. Each side was a third each, but I split it and made the feed point at the quarter wavelength point. What really happened there too is it gave me at the feed point about 200 ohms. So the 4-to-1 balance I was worried about whether this would work or not. It was a hit. And then what I would do, if you could, it's hard to see in the picture, but what I would do with that back pole where I supported it is I would rotate it around. I could move it, knowing it was directional. And at the time when I built this, about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't have Alaska in my log. And I'm like, you know what? 10's open. I look in this spot and I'm seeing Alaskan guys or whatever. So I took my iPhone out and looked up where Alaska was and found the angle, and I rotated this thing around, and I think it was the second contact I made on this antenna was my Alaska log. I finally got her in the log on 10 meters with this antenna. So it was a lot of fun, a little bit different. Putting a delta loop up on a pole is hard, but I'm sure if you've ever done it, but doing it this way it gave me a way of making, how many times have you ever been out, or I've been out and I heard someone say, let me rotate my beam. It gave me that opportunity. I could rotate my beam a little bit and go around, and it worked well. The other thing I did, playing off of that with the 2 poles, was I built a vertical square loop, and once again, with a 4-to-1 balun. This was a fun antenna. It really was. And it was, I noticed, read the theory, but I wanted to see for myself that the gain was broadside of it, and it was. I remember this is when I built it, was our city park in Portsmouth, Virginia. And at the time in the afternoon, 10 was kind of somewhat open, but I was here in Texas, so I rotated it and had it broadsided from Virginia down to Texas, and I was getting like, you're 5, 9, 10 over, whatever, and I was operating 20 watts of my Zygo G90 with this antenna. It was amazing. And so getting back to that, I hope I encourage you to get out and do stuff like this. There's other antennas to build, but if you got 2 poles, build the delta loop, turn it on its side and have some fun, build a square loop. Something I want to do I haven't done yet, a rectangular loop. And getting back to when the people ask me, why would you do that? Well, because I can. I want to build every antenna I can and have some fun with it. But also, here lately, I've fallen down the rabbit hole of telescopic whips and the little red slug. Everybody's, it seems to be very popular. I did a video on it, and the day I bought that did the video, I looked, and they were $17.99 US, and after my video had about 6,000 views, they were $59.99 US, and I was like, man, why would you do that to me? But a lot of fun, great little antenna, and like I said, I've kind of fallen down the rabbit hole with these type of antennas lately. If you're a subscriber and watch my channel, no, I'm not becoming a Chinese antenna guy. I just like, once again, I want to try every antenna. It's like, that's why I'm doing it and experimenting with it. I'm not trying to sell anybody on it. I just want to see for myself. I found a really cool place. This is a couple months ago. The one on the left, that's the, I want to say it is the 750, the JPC antenna. That little cove there is called Mackerel Cove, looking out, like a little cove looking out in Rhode Island out to the Atlantic, or maybe to Long Island Sound, but that was fun. A lot of people, the JPC 12, the JPC 7, been having a lot of fun with those as well. And last but not least, it's the little dipole type antennas, the MA antennas as well. Been doing a lot of that. I'm showing you these slides to let you know, if you're a subscriber of mine, we're going to be doing a lot of wire antennas this summer. I'm not turning into a Chinese antenna guy, but you've seen a lot of that of me lately. And I like to, like I said, I'm going to get back to having fun building wire antennas. And if it's a cold one, I'll sit inside the Jeep. If it's one of those days that I just want to get out for a few minutes, everything you see here it stays in the back seat of my Jeep. I just have a couple different whip antennas, whatever. I'll pull over, slide over, and have fun. I think I'm sitting on the top of a parking garage here in our town to get up high there as well. But I just like to get out. I just like to get out and have some fun, and that's what this book's all about. I can sit here and we can go over every antenna in the book. I don't want to do that. I just kind of want to show you the idea of it. The book is about antennas. The book is about me, my experiments with antennas, my experience of doing it. And like everything, just like my video, there's a little suggestion at the back of each chapter of the book. You can go out and buy a pound of shrimp and have some fun to eat afterwards, because that's what I like to do as well. So that's in there. This year, I'm sitting, if any of you guys have ever been to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, I climbed to the top of Jockey's Ridge and didn't have a heart attack, and sat up there and operated with that halfway vertical that I showed earlier. Also, this month in QSC Magazine, there's an article, I've got an article in there, portable vertical wire antennas. It kind of just goes over what we just talked about. And like I said, just in its simpler form. The book, me, everything, this article, everything about coastal waves and wires and what I'm doing is like, I'm not Mozart. I'm Jimmy Buffett. You know what I mean? We're just like, let's just have fun. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. And I get a lot from people that are saying, "Oh, you're promoting bad habits. You're promoting you don't need to do this. You don't need to do that." No, I'm promoting that you need to go out and make mistakes and build antennas and have fun is what I'm doing, and learn from it. That's the way I did it. Look, I'm an engineer. I work with theoretical guys in office all day long that have never held a torch or a welding rod or had to cut a piece of steel. And I try to explain to them, look, yeah, it looks nice, it'll work, but the guy's got to build it, and the guy's got to do it. And then I go down to tell them, I was like, man, those idiots in the office, man, don't listen to them. Here, I'll show you how to do it. So that's what I'm trying to do here, with the book, and have some fun with it as well. So if you haven't seen it, it's over at the American Radio Relay League booth, and I will be there following this, and I don't know why it might bring the value down, but I'll autograph it for you if you want an autographed copy of the book. It's over there, but it's a fun book. I got to tell you, I can't believe how well it came out. My original plan, like I said, was to self-publish it and just throw all the sketches in it. And then the guys at the league said, Walt, make the book talk about what you do, your experiments, what each antenna was like for you to do. Maybe put a little bit more science in it with a model or two. And then please put the food experience in there. We want that. So if you're not into that, just flip to the next page. It's like, I did get one complaint. It's like, half the book is food review. I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's like just like one page at the end of the chapter, but that's it as well. With that said, I want to say a big thank you to the league, man. They made this happen for me. I can't believe that here I am, at Hamvention, talking to you guys with a mic in my hand, going over a book that I just had published, and it's a thrill of a lifetime. I'm just a regular guy. I'm no different than you guys sitting in the stands. I got lucky, and they did it for me, and it made it all for me. You guys make it all for me. I can't believe that this many people came here to listen to this fat old guy stand up here and talk about antennas, but I do appreciate it as well. With that said, any questions? I'd love to take questions. Have I tried the Faraday or the magic carpet? I haven't. I would like to. I tell you what I have used. as ham radio rookie, he sent me his antenna with Faraday tape on a pole. I use that. To be honest with you, I haven't. Michael Martin's next door is heavy into that, and I've watched him. As a YouTuber, when I do videos, I watch what's going on around me, and I try not to do the same thing other people are doing. But I do want to do it, and I think time's gone by now. So yeah, you might see that happen here. Yeah. Just you know what? I'll just let it get a little wet on the side. You know what I mean? And that'll the sea breeze. Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Maybe put little stones or something. Yeah, for sure. Yes, sir. Yeah. That's a good question. It depends on your situation. And, like they say, there's a lid for every pot or whatever. I've used the thinner gauge when I'm QRP because it's easier and compact to use. I don't, there is formula, and I can't spit it off the top of my head, but there is as far as wattage output and what have you. I have found, I think, with the cheap 16 gauge wire, to me, it's cheap, easy to get, and readily available. I've run 150 watts through that easy. I don't know if I would run 150 watts sitting on the beach with 22 gauge wire. Probably could, but I just, that, yeah. Yes, sir.
Admiring your perseverance with the horizontal loop and the delta loop, but have you thought about using phased verticals or a parasitic?
That's a great question. It's a great question. No, I'm glad you asked that. No. You guys are getting ready to see. I'm getting ready to do that. John Genren just gave me. He's building a phaser kit, and I have it here, right here. I got it hidden over at the ARRL booth. So I'm going to phase, definitely do some phasing. I've co-phased. I took a regular CB, 11 meter CB harness, and co-phased verticals that way, the old school way, like the truckers do with two antennas. I've done some co-phasing and did them, half a wave apart, and got some directionality that way. But yeah, probably week after next, I'm going to be camping at the beach for the entire week, and I'm going to take that phasing kit out, and I'm going to phase antennas on a 20 meter band. He gave me the wiring and the harness for 20 meters, and I'm going to phase. And what I'm going to do is get up early in the morning on Saturday morning and try to catch the Southern Cross net down to the VK and ZL and see if I can, with just my little 20 watt Zygu and the phased verticals, if I can rotate my signal in that way and rotate my beam, as they say. I'm definitely going to do that as well. So yeah, I'm glad you asked that question.
Plus 5% straight wire as parasitic.
Oh yeah, parasitic as well. Yeah, that's another great. I've got some sketches that are not in the book, but I've thought around with ideas of doing that as well. My friend Tim G5TM, me and him one day, and we must have talked all day about that, going, what we were going to do with the back and forth we were sending it, and I need to do that. Yes, sir.
What radios are you using, and how about your tuners? What experience have you had with tuners?
Yeah, I use mostly my Zygu G90. There's a running joke that the internal tuner of that radio will tune a wet noodle. I've literally forgot to screw my coax wire in one time, and it tuned the connector on the back. I got a perfect one-to-one. So that radio is really what drives me to do some of these antennas because of the tuner there. I recently got I got a Yaesu FT710. The problem with that tuner internal of that is just a 3-to-1 tuner, and sometimes I'm stretching outside of the 3-to-1 side. So I do have a cheap little, what they call it, the ATU 100 ATU that works well. I have a couple. I have a 10-tech, manual tuner, which I think tunes better if, once again, getting back to the loop. If you've got the patience and the skill set to tune an antenna, that's better than an ATU in my opinion. But I'm lazy. I just like to hit a button and start talking, and so that's it. Yes, sir. I haven't. A lot of people ask that question. I have never had an issue. Now, I may be an exception because of my surroundings make everything I get away with murder. You know what I mean? Like where I'm at. But being on, in my outdoor by the sea activations, I've never had any issue. I have carbon fiber masks as well. I've never had a problem. I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been Callum, the ex-commander, was talking about the amount of loss or what's going on, the interaction or the coupling with carbon fiber. It's minimal. You really don't see it.
It blocks RF though.
Yeah. Once again, you got to rotate your beam.
Exactly. But if you can place the wire about an inch away from the mast, you'll have much better results.
Yeah.
Wouldn't matter with a slinky then.
Yeah, the slinky. What I didn't put in the book, well, I took a slinky. I got a 9-to-1. I have a video, and I got a 9-to-1 Battling, and I took 2 of the little slinkies and put them up, and that thing did really well as well. The problem is, I went up on top of parking garage. The problem is the pole. In the video I mentioned, I was like, Callum, man, your 10-meter pole is doing well. It held up, and he commented back, yeah, I saw that, Walt. And then he messaged me later. He goes, you want another one? I'll get you better, like another pole or whatever. So yeah, it was kind of funny, but yeah, it was the slinky on a pole is great, but do know that you better have a pretty hefty pole to hold it, because especially outdoors, you start getting a lot of weight up on the high end of it. It starts doing that as well. Any other questions? Anybody else? Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to be, if you purchase the book, or if you want to purchase the book, I'll be over at the booth. Love to sign it. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.